We ready?
I'd like to call the regular meeting to order at 5:29.
Keith Gordon,
Yes.
Max Floyd.
Yep.
Tim Han,
Yes.
Michelle Kelly. Here. Jamie Wilson. Here. Sean Dusendorf.
Here.
James Cartwright.
No, stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Persons to address the board? Anybody? Class 2025. Oh, man. To present senior trip plans. Yeah, it was.
Hi, I'm Hope Ford. I'm the 125. I'm so sorry. Excuse me, everybody. So as on our tentative itineraries that you all have, we plan on leaving Sunday, June 15th at 9 at night, and then returning Thursday, June 19th at 7:30 in the morning. Some of our key things, we have going to Williamsburg, spending time at Virginia Beach and then Busch Gardens and our Norfolk dinner cruise. Our class is successfully fundraising enough to cover the cost for all students going, and as of right now, there are approximately 34 students who plan on going. We put the price is covered, and hopefully you're hoping to include some of the meals covered within the price as well. The cost per student hopefully be under $500. And that's, I think, all I have. Any questions?
We're going to Busch Gardens.
Oh, Busch Gardens, my bad.
Yeah, it sounds like I should kind of mention that. Oh, okay. I did. Sorry.
Any questions?
So the 500 is just for like meals and stuff, or if it's not covered by extra funds?
The 500 per student.
Per student, per person.
The cost will be
Under.
under 500
Oh.
for the entire,
It's fully covered.
for everything.
Was there other choices other than Virginia Beach or just a Virginia Beach?
It was the only thing that was brought up and nobody had any other ideas, so that's what we did.
You said 34 students?
Yes, that's who we have now, and then we're sending out, well, they're sending out letters that needs to be returned like to parents and stuff before winter break that says yes or no, so that we all get a good idea.
It's good
That's
participation.
pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
Mrs. Baker only had 4 students that said they weren't going for sure right now. So that's pretty good.
So we take a school bus or a private bus?
The white bus.
White bus.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right now, it's even under $400 per person, so.
So
Yeah,
Mhm.
we have 4 chaperones and a bus driver. Going with us.
I think you did pretty good for your.
She's nervous. Thank you.
Good job. All good?
Thank you very much.
Right?
Thanks. Good job. Yeah, good job.
All right. Well, we have our buddy from Hot here to present to us.
Yeah.
It's right on the spot. Walking the lake, you're up there.
Good job. Thank you. Good job.
Where am I plugging in? On the side of,
Yeah, on the side and
Yeah.
back of it. Might need your phone light to see the actual. Why did you?
there we go.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's been a while since we've been in front of you. Got some new faces. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm Mike Salvani. This is Jeff Robbins with Fund Engineers. Sean and James, well, congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
So, anytime you guys see that. Okay, so we're gonna give Brian an ask for a project update. Got a lot going on with you guys, and both at SED, a little bit in construction, or starting here in the next few weeks, and then some stuff on the horizon. So we'll get right into it. First one would be the 2023 capital project. It's the large project that we voted on in December, well. Currently, we're done with design with that, it's at SED. The scope for that project, this should look pretty familiar. Bus garage, we're doing some asphalt replacement, the roof, some mechanicals are getting shifted over to a different project that we'll discuss in a little while, okay? That's kind of the exciting news, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Toilet room renovation, that stays in this project. Then at the main campus, a new outbuilding out back, adjacent from the STEAM addition. Some exterior improvements, basketball court, tennis court. Again, more asphalt replacement, new restroom for the library, single-use restroom for the library. Replacing those some finishes. We've kind of, during our capital projects, we've replaced carpets with hard flooring. We're just continuing that over in the elementary wing. Sinks and casework upgrades in the elementary wing as well. Again, HVAC upgrades, there's some movement on that. We'll talk about that. Pool dehumidification will stay in this project. And then just some electrical upgrades. So schedule, right on schedule, which is phenomenal. We just received architectural approval, technical approval on Monday, yesterday. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So now we're just waiting on engineering approval. We're probably gonna take another month and a half before we see that. Okay, but we're right on schedule. This is the schedule we actually put together. Yeah, almost a year ago, and and we hit it right on the head here. So we're pretty happy about that. Just going through it quickly. Again, we're at SED right now. Anticipate approval in January. Kind of clean up the documents in February and put it out to bid. Open bids in March and award in April. So you would see, you'd see a resolution in April for the awarding of those contracts, okay? And then construction in April 25 basically through December, okay? Any questions on that project as of right now?
Can you refresh my memory, like, on HVAC units? I remember there was some incentives for like clean green thing, I saw you mention that there. Are we getting any of those incentives for that?
Yeah, so we have a little part on that. That's some pretty exciting news that you guys received, so we'll definitely dive into that a little bit later.
I thought the library bathroom was put off because of the
IT rooms.
So it got moved over to the closet, all over here with the
The
closet.
restrooms in the closet?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was
So
after
we're
our
not
last,
using IT space.
after our last discussion, Chris proposed that there wasn't a major issue with actually connecting to the runs that run down the hallway.
Mm,
And so they were able to put it and take up that space. He met with Nicole, we had a conversation about, is there any other locations, and then we brought that back.
All right.
To the team.
So when we put that out to bid, we talked about that being an alternate.
mhm.
Yeah. And my concern was the board didn't want that possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we heard that loud and clear, and that's the documents.
Yes. Any other questions? This is all new to you guys, so please speak up or whatever you have questions, then just let me know. I'll be happy to dive into it a little bit more. Okay, the energy performance contract, the EPC that we are kind of dealing with train, a lot smaller scope, replacement of LED of lighting to be LED. Some controls for lighting and HVAC, new condensing boilers. Some water conservation measures, that's where they kind of go into your plumbing fixtures and they change some things out to make it more, they use less water. Okay. And then VFDs for air handlers. Schedule for that is basically we submitted this. Maybe we can have 2 weeks apart from the capital project, so they're running pretty much side by side. So again, right on schedule with this. Schedule looks similar than the capital project. Just don't need to bid this project because it's an EPC, so you can take that part out, and that bidding process and that award process just becomes construction time. So you can see the closeouts a little bit earlier. Any questions on the EPC portion? Going through it pretty quick, so slow me down if you need more information. Okay. Capital outlay project, so we just opened this, we just did, opened up bids for capital outlay not that long ago, I think you guys saw, just awarded that to Erie Contracting. A contractor that's actually done quite a few projects here. So they're looking to get started, probably in January, we're going through submittals now. And the scope of that is new transaction window at the front lobby with a ballistic rating on the glazing. Security film on those, the remainder of those windows in that lobby. Your floor finish, that's again that's finishing up the first floor of the elementary school. So there's 3 rooms and a corridor that have carpet in them. We're gonna take that out and put hard flooring in there. Then that floor, that first floor will be done. And then lastly is the dock lift out back. Replacing. Questions on that? That has to be
The
done by.
ballistic glazing, are they replacing the glass with ballistic?
We're replacing the whole unit. We're replacing the
With-
frame,
With,
ballistic glass. Yes. Yeah.
when it said glazing, it threw me off to the ballistic
Yes.
or the film, you know, the 3M.
Yeah, everything else is the film, but the actual transaction window was replaced with level 1
Yes.
ballistic.
Right.
Yeah. Glazing. Anything else on that? Okay, smart schools. So we're working through this, been working through this, but we're in a good place. Smart schools, scope of that is network switch replacements, infrastructure cabling, removal and replacement. Telecommunication room infrastructure replacement. There's 7 rooms that we're doing that to. Storage server upgrades, emergency notification strobes on the exterior of the building. Okay. Additional access control at classroom doors. So we've done a lot of the doors throughout this building. We're finishing up with the remainder of those doors in this project. And then emergency classroom communication. So that's basically phones. We're replacing the phones throughout the building, which will have paging capabilities and stuff like that. In terms of schedule, we did the LOI in November. We're doing the application right now. That'll be submitted in December. We'll look for about a 12 or a 6 to 12 month review time from SED, from Smart Schools. There's 2 parts. There's a Smart Schools and then there's an SED for this. Smart Schools takes usually takes longer. The SED side of it, the facilities part of it, we're expecting to submit that in February and get approval by September. Okay. Any questions on Smart Schools? We've been working with Jeff Levine on this.
How come that takes so long?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Welcome.
That's what I can speak.
Why does
to.
that take so long?
So, yeah, good question. Free money, right? They don't like to just hand it out, but they actually, it's quicker than it was. So this started, I think the vote was in, 14.
13 or 14.
Yeah, it goes back that far. It was a statewide bond initiative that passed. And every district was allocated a certain amount of funds. And in order to access those funds, you had to go through steps. The last step, this step right here, Smart Schools approval. That's when you apply the application, you fill it all out, you get it in there after you've done 12 steps to get to that point. Then it went to I'd call it the Smart Schools office, but it's basically an arm of the governor's office because they're administering the funds. And then there was a state committee that had to review every application to give approval. And them meeting was ridiculous. They were meeting once every 6 to 8 months. They didn't schedule it. You had no idea. And they would do a handful of projects, approve a handful of projects at a time. So it was taking forever. It was taking, that used to be 12 months to 18 months for that 6 to 12 month approval. Last year, they got rid of the committee. They defuncted the committee and they're basically saying now it's more of an administrative approval. But you're dealing with an office of 2 people that are doing this for the state and, you know, there's been times, you know, I mean, this has gone on a long time. I think the one lady has been there a long time. I think she's had 2 kids. I don't know. You know, it's like she's on maternity leave and then all of a sudden you don't have anybody to answer your questions, but which is okay, but they should backfill that and they weren't doing that. But it does look like I'm expecting this to be at the shorter end. It's just that it's new. And we've only seen one project that we've submitted under the new rules, and it took about 4 months. But that was one project, you know, I didn't want to guarantee something like that until we saw a better track record.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna hand the good news off to Jeff.
So you mentioned clean green. So we got word just last week. Couple weeks, man. I keep thinking Thanksgiving was last week. Sorry. So right before Thanksgiving, we got word that you were awarded the clean green grant that you applied for through Train and us. And that award was $776,000. And that fund, the key thing with that funding source is it can be used for your local share. So you can leverage that to do a larger project. Where historically, these grants you couldn't use that way, right? It was just a standalone amount and you can't do a whole lot for $776,000. But as a local share at your aid rate, you can do a significant amount of work. So that application was submitted, and I didn't want to get in the weeds too much on that funding. We'll do that next time that we see you. We're expecting to come back, but we wanted to announce that you got that grant. We haven't seen the official paperwork. Chris got a phone call, so the district was notified through Chris, and Train was notified, and then we were told through those mechanisms, and that was the dollar value. And the scope of work is the air handling units, rooftop units, and it had to be, the heat pump system in order to qualify. And then there was replacement of unit ventilators with the heat pump VRF system. And but it's having a duplicate system with a hot water, right? We're doing a dual system. And that was kind of key. We've been recommending that on the engineering side because in our climate, doing heat pumps only and conditioning outside air, fresh air that you have to bring in, it just can't keep up in the dead of winter. So having the dual system. So your other project, the EPC, has boilers that couldn't be part of clean green because they're not going to fund any fossil fuel technology, but they would fund the associated work to it. So that stays over in that other mechanism. But with that, in order to utilize that funding, you need authorization for a project. And this is kind of the new piece that we're putting out there is with a potential. Now, this is all up for conversation, but we were targeting a May vote, and the potential referendum is 14.9 million. Big number for you guys. That's the clean green application. You're going to see some other numbers being floated out there. I want to share, it's 15.8 is the total value that Clean Green has authorized, but some of that authorization or scope you've already authorized. So some of that scope that they took in account was part of your EPC. So it's already authorized, it's already have a mechanism, but it was desirable for them to see that you're doing that work as part of the application. So Train included it, even though it's already funded, so that we could get this money. Okay, but you need to, in order to, touch screen, right? In order to take advantage of it, you'd have to authorize additional funds to do that. Now, there's more conversation to have on that. What that looks like from a timeline, there'd be about a 6-month design. It still has to go to the state for a building permit, just like anything else. And you would be looking to get your state aid for this. So that's why the state has to approve and give you that building permit, with construction happening in the summer of 26 and then continuing probably to the summer of 27, the amount of work that is needed here. We're working through the financial details of this with your financial advisor, with Maggie from Municipal Solutions and with Train. And there's a lot of trickiness with all that financing and funding resources that we'll get into the detail a little bit later, but there's just to kind of highlight a few. You are getting this money. There's also some rebate money that's accounted for. There's like 175,000 of guaranteed rebates that Train's putting on the table. And then there's the aid mechanisms you have for the EPC and also this capital project to kind of all work together to allow you to do that amount of work. So this is kind of a big thing to prepare for a referendum vote. And I don't want to take that lightly, you know, that's wasn't something we really talked about recently, but I think we always knew that if you were awarded this grant, you'd have to authorize your part of it also. You noticed in Mike's presentation that we started calling the capital project a phase 1. And that was kind of on purpose. You hadn't heard that before. That phase 1 came about because we could shift some of this scope was in that project. It's now being shifted to clean green, and taking advantage of this funding has freed up some of that funding to allow you to do some other things. And we'll talk about that potential also. If you didn't want to do any of those other things, this could look a little different also, because you do have some authorization currently that we could tag with this with a new authorization. There's some things that you could do, but there's some things that Chris and Brian Aaron brought to the table of things that are, you know, seem really needed. So we're going to talk about those tonight with you too, to see what you think. Any questions about this at this time?
Those ventilators, they include cooling?
Yes. Good point. This will cool, I think, the entire building. This
Yeah,
initiative.
so after this, it'll talk to Greg about this earlier. It'll cool everything that's student occupied. It's not gonna cool like closets, you know, I said, everything's like, no, that can cool the small little closets, stuff like that. But yeah, anything that's student occupied, faculty occupied, will all be cool. He was gonna check, he even felt the corridors. So.
Well, they're very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the big initiative to, you know, make this happen, is to be able to get that cooling provided.
And keeping in mind that it's still the, you know, the backs of package.
Yeah. So what that looks like as a potential schedule and the actions, we're here tonight talking about that. We'd like to come back in January to talk more about it, because there's a lot to get into the details of this, and we want to prepare it says budget, but really that financing mechanism and how we keep this as no tax impact isn't a straight line discussion, right? There's a lot to that, and you know, we want to make sure everybody is comfortable with that and do all that due diligence. Train put those numbers together, and you know, we were working for Train, but we're working for you, right? I mean, that was because of how the funding is that NYSERDA also provided funding to do the design. So that had to go through Train, but you're our primary client, you know, whatever that does. So we want to make sure you're comfortable with it, and the numbers that Train was putting together to get that grant works with your financial advisor and your financial plan. So that takes a little effort. We've started that and we're working on it, and we'll continue to work on that. Once that looks all good, then you have to go through a seeker process. And, you know, for some of you new guys there, that's the state environmental quality review. If you're not familiar with that, every capital project the school does, they have to go through that review. And in some cases, it's a more lengthy review. Our last project was an unlisted action. This is likely to be a type 2. We're allowing time for a different type, a more lengthy review, but it's unlikely to require that because it's all replacement of existing stuff. We're not adding square footage. We're not doing additional site work. There's all those things that kick you into other types. So we're expecting it to be a type 2, but we'd want your attorney to confirm that. Then in March, you see there's time. We didn't have a February date in here, but if needed, we could come back in February and fine tune things. But by March, to hit a May vote, you'd have to take your official action in March. To set the vote date for your May vote. Now, I think we may have discussed the possibility of voting in March. And I don't want to throw that out the window, but it would be rushed. You would have to make some real decisions here in January. And you'd probably have to have a special board meeting at the beginning of February to hit a March vote date. Your February board meeting, I think, is the 11th. That makes sense. And there's not enough calendar time to do the advertisements and things that you need to do between the 11th. You'd be pushing into April, and then that gets so tight with the May vote anyway. So that's up for you guys to decide. We could push that, but we didn't want to push you. You know, you can push us, but and otherwise we're like, you have a vote already in May for your budget vote. You would tag team on there, which I think you've done in the past.
Now, would you share the applications that you played success rate?
Yeah, so this year we put in 5 applications and 3 of them got approved. And I think across the state, they only approved 5. I think that there was only 4 or 5 districts. They haven't officially announced it all yet. There's gonna be I think a public announcement, but that's what I believe I heard is there was we submitted 5, 3 of ours got approved, and there was 2 or 3 others that were approved across the state. Thank you. And Train did a great job. I know they're your partner too. They have a lot of connections with NYSERDA and worked with them very closely through the whole process to make sure that what they were looking for and the information they needed, they were being provided. So it was good. It was a good team effort.
So we hold off till the May vote. You guys can be able to put it to Brian and Aaron as layman's terms, and when you put it out there saying there's no tax impact, that's gonna be the biggest thing. You know, because we just went through this with the road, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my main concern, as long as the public in layman's terms understand basis, you know, no tax.
Mike and I were wrestling all afternoon with exactly that, right? And I think we got there. Essentially, there are some pieces parts, but in the end, your funding resources are state aid, your NYSERDA grant, and your utility rebates. There's 3 funding sources that you know, provide the funding for the project. Now, that state aid is gonna come to you in a couple of different avenues, but it's still, in the end, it's state aid.
Yeah.
You know, and that I think previously we've shown some, like a pie chart or something like that, and that's what we would expect to do. Yeah. Okay, and so what that looks like, the whole phase 1, phase 2 piece, this is where we want to kind of lay this out. So currently, because phase 1 included some of the scope that was able to be pulled into Clean Green, not all of it, but some of it, that freed up some funds. So right now we're budgeting 5.1 million for phase 1. The EPC is just about 2 million, okay, which leaves about 7 million of work, and you had a 9.8 authorization. So that left 2.7 million currently unallocated. Okay, so like I said, you could allocate that towards the Clean Green scope of work. Also, obviously, we need to get towards 15 million, so you'd have to have 2 authorizations. That could be a little bit confusing also. Or you could identify other scope that you could spend this money on under your current authorization. And that's kind of the list we're going to look at. And once we kind of get a sense that that's a direction you'd like to go, we're sharing, I think we already shared the list with your attorney. We just haven't had enough time to get any feedback to see if it fits your current authorization and your current seeker. If that scope fits within your authorization, nothing else is needed other than us to design it, packages it, and get a building permit for you. Okay. So then the smart schools is the 900,000. Capital outlay is 100,000, and the NYSERDA authorization would be 14.9 million. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, and we'll lay this out later, but the application actually shows 15.8. And that's because to make that application more desirable, about 900,000 of the EPC scope was identified to go along with the clean green. And it's because that scope had no carbon impact. So in that scope, you saw your boilers. That's not in there. But your energy efficiency, lighting, your control work, any of that stuff got tagged here and added to this to make your application strong. So, but you've already authorized it. So that's why we can reduce if you saw paperwork on the application, it said 15.8. And you might ask, well, why are you asking for 14.9? That's why, because you already have that. So this is the potential scope for phase 2, and Mike, walking through that.
Sure. So, potential of renovating the locker room. So this would be the pool locker rooms, all 4 locker rooms that are over there. Basically, gut and renovate those spaces. Replace the playground and the fall protection. So that's the original playground next to the playground that we just installed. That's 24 years old. So it's getting close to the end of its useful life. So we replaced the playground and the fall protection around it. Replace lighting poles at the driveway and the parking lot. Pretty self-explanatory. Casework and new vault for the district office. Again, more carpet and turning carpet into LVT for spaces that we didn't hit prior projects. Baseball and softball field drainage, and then resurfacing or reseeding those as well. Refinishing the gym floors, the sanding the wood and painting the lines on those again, and providing new bleachers. And then a bunch of technology upgrade audio visual classrooms, Wi-Fi, UPS, and server upgrades, e-power in server rooms and offices, and power upgrades in the server rooms. So there's a lot of stuff there.
There was also a bus. Oh, is there another slide for the bus?
Oh, and the bus, that's right. No, there is not.
Okay.
We are looking at doing a new lift in the bus garage as well. And that's because with the whole new electric buses coming in, they need a lift to be able to lift those senator buses. That would be also.
And it's the age too.
Yes, and they're 24 years.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of scope. Probably don't have enough for the 2.7.
Yeah, that's what I want to point out. This is more than 2.7 can support. But if this is kind of on target of what you want to consider, we would take it to the next step of doing a little bit more investigation and getting some budget numbers for each line item. And then we would talk more about that at your future meetings.
Boston alone is gonna be.
We had a quote, it was up to 300.
Yeah, it's right around 250 to 300.
It wasn't as bad as we all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're in that realm.
But I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for the rest of the board, and I know we're not, I think this is part today, but I really do think we should have to start looking into that in case we have to force to go to electric buses. Our maintenance and our mechanics aren't doing good work on the buses. Right.
And I do want to say too, I don't think that's the only reason you need it.
No.
You know, because it's
It's getting pretty old and it's dangerous.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen it.
And I've had a couple districts recently where I've had to do emergency projects to replace them, and I hate to see it get in that position.
Right.
You know, just because they start leaking and they just don't start, you know.
We don't have to use the full 2.7 either. We could use just some of it if we wanted to there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the end of the useful life for the playground, just for me, because I'm curious, it looks like a nice playground to me. So what's I guess why is it at the end?
So they, those playgrounds, and you could probably speak more to this, but they get inspected every year. And there's, it's like gapping in the chains or any part of the equipment, the gaps start to get bigger. And that would be a fail in a playground, for a playground.
Yeah, Chris is sitting on this playground out here, it's bad.
And so, yeah, the Chris said the surface is like.
I mean, it's all chunks of stuff coming
Oh,
out
is it
really? Oh, yeah.
And so usually the life of, this is one that drives me crazy too, but it's reality. The life of playgrounds probably about 10 to 15 years max is what we see. And part of that is wear and tear, because they get a lot of use, but also the code requirements for them are constantly getting more rigorous. And, you know, so it definitely pushing that. No doubt.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll share this and they can get this to you so you can see the whole list. We'll add the bus garage lift in there and you can ponder that a little bit more. So potential schedule for phase two. We were thinking that we wouldn't target this starting until after your May vote, like when you start, when we tag team this along with the clean green and kind of design these together and get those submitted and approved together. That was the idea. And that just kind of follows suit. So we'd be looking at construction for basically summer of 26 would be the heavy hit for construction there. That was it. Fair enough.
Good news like that all the time, you should just keep coming.
Yeah, it's nice to, you know, have that mechanism. I mean, you guys do a great job with your capital reserve to save for your capital projects, but it's nice to have, you know, some money that you didn't have to not pay for, you know, or raise another way. So it's nice to have that. But it would basically be utilized like you utilize your capital reserve.
When you mentioned the LBT, is that like, that's what's here, right?
Yeah, it's, you know, specifically the elementary wing.
So even when it's plank like this, they just call it LBT because it's
Yes,
just easier to say.
yeah, so it's
I was
luxury vinyl tile.
And there's a lot of different real
Yeah.
surfaces of that vinyl.
Yeah.
They just don't want to say luxury vinyl plank, like LBP's.
Yeah, I know, right? No, it's probably out there.
Thank you. Very much, guys.
Anything else? That's it.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Okay,
Well done.
happy to do it.
thank you.
Have a great Christmas.
You
you too.
New Year.
Same here.
All right, I'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the November 12th, 2024. I need a motion. Motion. James with a motion.
Okay.
Showing a second.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Good job. Thank you.
Any questions, concerns, or comments with the minutes? All in favor? Opposed? Administrator reports. We have an attachment one that came from Brian Edmister and Sarah Donald. And so if they were here, too, you guys have anything for us?
I was just gonna say that last time I reported that the BPK audit was gonna be December 4th. They rescheduled it to the 6th. So got all the paperwork done. They're not coming till the 6th. So paperwork's done.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Financial report. Oh, no, sorry, forget this one. We have the board committee reports. Does anybody have a committee report for me?
I got a couple things for you.
Sean?
So the wellness committee met with, there was several of us in there. Some of the topics that we discussed were collaborating with maybe the county and other districts to make the Halloween trunk or treat thing a bigger thing instead of having separate locations. So the county did one, the school did one, those churches did one. Maybe making it a bigger thing with some extra things going on there. Some things we talked about were bobbing for apples or an apple launcher or a bounce house. Some of those things were brought up and it was received pretty well from the committee. So that's something that we'll discuss further when that time comes. Also, the nursing department here in GB reported on some of the stuff that I wasn't aware of all the kits that they get. That are at no cost to us, the district, test some of these kids, so they're not having to go to the hospital of the ER to get tested for, certain illnesses, which is, I think is wonderful for, as a taxpayer to see that for some of our under, some of the people can't afford that, so that was nice to see. What were some of the other things, Jim?
They spoke on the reporting system. Reporting absences, how they do it, which is kind of nice, emails and phone calls.
Seemed very fluent and much easier, less time consuming for staff. And they were very happy with that new system, so. Overall, it went very well. So, basically, what we discussed.
What else you got, Tommy?
So I was, went to the 2024 winter conference in Saratoga Springs. Dr. Schmidt and I both went and attended. I didn't know what to expect. It's my first school board, conference. I met a lot of people. I saw people there that I actually knew, which is, like shocking, the setup was beautiful, the whole thing was, very well put together. The speakers were amazing to listen to. A lot of times, I'm one of those people that will drift off into Never Land, especially if it's something that's it's kind of difficult to understand, but they kept your attention through the whole 2 days that I was there. The highlight for me was the Rockefeller Institute findings, where the Monday before the conference, the new standards or the new proposal that they put together to give back to I believe it's the governor, right? That's where we'll go. The governor for how our state aid funding will be. So right now, a lot of the school districts are all the same type of criteria goes into them. They don't take into account poverty in this area or higher income families in certain areas. So there's a lot of things, little different blocks. It was 300 pages or something. I think we sent it out. I haven't obviously had the time to sit down and read it, but I'm going to make a point to look through some of it. They're gonna pick pieces of that apart, so if you're low income and you have this many students, you potentially could get more funding, so our state aid could change or decrease depending on where we meet some of this criteria and this new blocks of criteria that they propose to the government. I wish you were there to listen to the guy that spoke, because he didn't sound like he'd been doing this forever and he knew his stuff, but it was interesting. And then they did a question and answer as well, so a lot of people got to question him about certain things, and he was very straightforward. He wasn't persuaded anyway, and he said very much at the end that the governor's office and the state was very receptive to the changing criteria, because it hasn't been evaluated since 2003.
Originally, the data's for 3 and the last evaluation was 2007, actually.
21 years since they sat down and looked at the criteria for the funding, so potentially something big could be coming down the pipes for us or any other school district, so. That's that was a conference.
Negative too, right?
It'll be a negative too, but I think being that we're a rural school and the criteria that they spoke about. It sounded very much like it's going to benefit a lot of the more rural schools, even though like some of these bigger schools are lumped into rural school as well, city schools. That have more of an income, they're not just, it's not just a cut driveway, you have 500 kids, you get 2 million, you have 1,000 kids, you get 4 million, it's definitely gonna change that, I think, to benefit us, I feel. Great, conference. Probably will look forward to going to another one at some point.
Thank you very much. Is there any other committee reports on athletic anything? And I've been last time, so. Also committee we spoke last time. All right. We'll move on to financial reports.
Right, well, Sean just covered a lot of mine, I was gonna say that.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
But
You got it.
yeah, I haven't gotten through it either, and I'm attending a webinar next week that I expect will really, go into it more depth. But another part of that is they're looking to separate, have a separate formula specifically for special education students, so I think that's another area that could help us with our high special ed population. And I believe they're trying to fully fund the transition to the electric school buses. So that's a proposal that would be significant as well. But again, I'm attending a webinar next week, so I will have more information on that. Also just plugging away at the budget. I will have the contractual increases for the budget committee next week, as well as Sarah and I have been working together on special education costs, what it will look like with tuition, with the classrooms, and just outsourcing all of our students. So I will present that to the budget personnel committee next week and then present it out at our next board meeting in January. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? All right. I need a motion to approve the treasurer. No. Is that Jamie with the motion? Okay. Now, any questions, comments, concerns about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need the motion to approve the warrant reports. So. Tim with motions.
One second.
Sean with the second. Any questions, comments, concerns about? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to accept the tax collector's report.
Okay.
Jamie and James. James beat you with that.
Oh.
I was looking up this time.
What's your dad? Usually Frederick.
Any questions, comments, concerns with the tax collector report? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to approve the energy performance contract, EPC. And with the motion, Max with the second. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda. Under one. Policy 7220 graduation requirements, this policy will be updated sometime within the school year. Do you want to approve at this meeting or pull it until later this school year?
I'll ask Pam to give you the marked up version of this. Button back, this will be updated later on again this year when the report of the graduate comes out full force, which is going to be adopted, I believe, at the January Regents meeting. But at the same point, I wanted to give you the option to understand that you can certainly update it. Once you can update it multiple times and gain the more departments based on the shelves.
Looks like it was simplified quite a bit.
It was, then they pulled out other, but those become parts of other policies.
And my bigger thing was I know, other people, you guys have to manage the policies online and other places. I didn't know if adopting it now versus potentially in January or February was that significant that it couldn't wait. I mean, I don't know that we're necessarily doing anything that goes against us or that this is going to change So I just thought that wouldn't make less work for people, potentially made sense to just wait. Or.
So why is it gonna change again?
Because the new portrait of a graduate regulations are not finalized yet, because the Board of Regents has not adopted them. And once they become finalized, then this policy will be updated with the new guidelines.
It's gonna be like just one page, you know.
Yeah, it's very short, very short. This is the board's problem.
What the recommendation?
So my notes have reflected that we said that we were going to wait, which is why I sent the email today.
Okay.
Jamie and James are on that with me, they can speak, otherwise,
We didn't wanna make him update it twice a day.
Yeah,
Just seems silly.
makes sense.
Full 7220 from the consent agenda. And then it's been 1.5. Yes, that's exactly what we enjoyed that.
we had.
Yeah, 1.5. All right, 1.5. I need well, it's gonna be part to approve the abolish policy 5240. School tax assessment and collection of property tax assessments due to it being outdated. So that's gonna be on there to abolish it. That's. Can't keep it linked. All right, yep. All right, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda then, as with the changes? I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Sean will be with you. Sean the second. Any other comments, questions, concerns on it? All in favor?
Hey,
Opposed? Motion carried. Personal action items. I was messed up on this, James. Personal action items, everything that's underneath this. So the attachment. What came to you on your computer, but this is all. Okay, got it now. All right, under personal action items, A, accept the resignation of Caroline.
A motion.
I'll second.
Jamie, so, good. Any questions, comments, concerns with that?
I just forgot it last. Board meeting that it was approved just the whole time.
Yeah, so it was cleaner and I'll keep this whole thing. All in favor? Opposed? I need a motion to appoint the GB Stan PM advisor Candy Mitchell.
I'll second.
Okay, yep. Then with the motion, Michelle in the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to approve long-term substitute teacher aide Tyler Orley.
I'm also,
Someone motion,
I'll second.
Sean with the second. Any questions, concerns with that? See the no number there. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to approve long-term substitute teacher aide. Randall, buddy. Max with the motion, a second. James with the second. See the note under that too. Any questions, comments, concerns with that? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to accept the resignation of Raleigh Duttweiler.
So moved.
Tim with the motion. I'll second. John with the second. I guess any questions, comments, concerns with that?
Kind of have to let them.
Don't step it away. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion to accept the resignation of April Cole due to retirement.
I'll second. Did you get it? Thought I saw it.
Actually, motion, no second. Any questions, comments, concerns for Basil? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, I need a motion to accept the resignation of Brian Edmister the second. Anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
We got Sean with the motion. A second. James with the second. Any questions, comments, concerns with this retirement resignation?
I think we're still gonna see him. Right.
So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations. Enjoy that retirement. Wish I was there with you.
Then retired, started yesterday, tired again.
That's all it takes. I'm tired all the time. All right, I need a motion to approve the leave of absence for Jessica Rain. Then we the motion, Max, second. Any questions, comments, concerns with that? All in favor?
Okay.
Motion carried. I need a motion to approve leave of absence for Casey Major Schmidt.
Motion.
Sean. Max, second. Any questions, comments, concerns with that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Information and discussion.
Upcoming board meetings and committee meetings are listed there for your reference. I need you to authorize or have a discussion around whether or not you want to do the yearbook ad as we've done in the past. Or to have any changes, so if any board members have a preference. As to that, I need authorization for us to put it out in here.
The last few years, it's been a full page, correct? I'm pretty sure.
Last year, I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the last
I'm good
few
with this.
years, it's been a full page. And which is how much?
I'm not prepared with that. I don't know.
I would say unless anybody, I would,
There's not a full page, it's a 1/8, a 1/4, and a 1/2. See, Pam's got it. You're not doing any different, are you?
Not than what I sent in the letter.
So the 1/8 of a page is 30, 1/4 of a page is 50, and 1/2 of a page is 90.
Realize not to do that one.
yeah, the biggest one.
I really fit that nice picture there.
His boots.
With my boots.
Yeah.
I crapped out your boots.
That's all I have.
All right.
Can we just adjust the budget, personnel meeting and meet to go back to 4:30?
I'm no problem.
What was it? 4:15 to 4:30, yeah.
That usually would work better for me to ask.
No, you're sorry. Back to 4:30.
Yeah, no changes to people's seat at this point.
I will not be there on the 14th for either of those. I won't be here for the board meeting either.
How about January 14th? Or?
Yeah, January 14th meetings, I'm out of town.
Probably the policy committee, 4:15 to 4:30 on the 28th of January.
I think we may need to move to safety and security committee meeting, because I'd like you to be part of that.
Yeah, this was. I did not look at our schedule when I told my wife I could go with her.
Yeah. I would like to be a part of that.
That's the 14th.
14th, yep. So if you could forward me some dates, like around that, like after that.
I'm good, other than that week. I'm gone on that Tuesday through that Friday, but that's the only time I go. University, I'll have the chance.
Any changes other than that?
Did you change?
So I changed the 18th to 4:30, I changed the 28th, committee meeting to 4:30.
Yeah, and the 7th is still good at the 4:45.
Yeah, 4:45 is fine, it's just a little early.
Going back to Peter Bucket, Kim, are you gonna come up with something for us? Last year I created something.
Yeah, I certainly can, it's up to you.
Yeah.
I am wondering though if I can end your live stream so Jeff Babbitt can stream the concerts.
Oh, yeah, so, I'm fine.
I'll make the motion to.
Yeah, I need a motion to enter executive